Corona.
Dude.
I got this too. I got the same thing you got.
You do?
It's brutal, dude. I don't know what the heck's going on.
Corona. It's a coronavirus. It got me.
I'm scared. I'm scared that that's really what it is.
Oh, man. Well, let's see. You were traveling last weekend, was it?
Well, I've been done a lot of traveling.
Yeah, you're screwed. You got it from somewhere. I didn't get a fever, though, so I think with the coronavirus, you get like this fever that's really high, so.
Oh, okay. I haven't gotten that.
Ah, you're good. There.
Safe.
I just solved it. We don't
We're
have
all
coronavirus. Whew. Thank God.
We're all good. We're all good.
Spray some Lysol and inhale when you spray it. Just inhale
Throw some
it.
Windex.
Yeah. Little Windex on you.
Windex. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. The thing's a little scary, though.
It is very scary. But you know what? It seems like every couple of years there's something that just...
Yeah, what was it? Just a year ago or so, the Ebola? And everybody was freaking out about that. We're going to be bleeding from our eyes.
Oof. I was doing that watching the Super Bowl.
Oh! Oh! Yeah, Super Bowl. Not the outcome I wanted. I wanted to see Jimmy G get his Super Bowl. That would have been his third Super Bowl.
Yeah, but one that he competed in.
Right. I wanted to see him get it as a starter. But what are you going to do? Kirby's, we checked in on him to make sure he was all right. He's still around, so he's it's tough, like you said, being a sports fan this day and age with social media.
It's horrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's because as a fan, you want to, you want to express and display your loyalty. And then all everybody else does is they see that as a sign of, okay, now it's on. When this guy's team loses,
right.
I'm all over him. And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and you find yourself rooting for your team so you don't become, you don't get a
meme.
Yeah, you don't want to get attacked by all these people and then see all the memes that come out and you're just like you're praying because the social media out there is just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's really tough. I'm glad that I'm glad that the only real team I ever lived and died with was that Bulls years and with Jordan, and I'm so glad it's over. That I don't have to deal with any of that anymore. It was bad enough back then. I couldn't imagine what it was like now.
Yeah, but back then it was just you run into people that you know and they would just rib you about it. Now it's like,
yeah, you're seeing it all the time.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm so glad that that's over with. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Pre social media. You know what does kind of disappoint me though is when I look at there's some things that come up on YouTube and I don't know if it's just the certain videos that people put up or what's able to be used for them. But even video from the 90s looks crappy now on YouTube. Absolutely. And it really takes away from it.
Yeah.
And I know there's good video out there too. I know there's good stuff. I mean, there was they filmed a lot of stuff. They did that whole last year, the Bulls run in IMAX. So I know they have good footage and good film of all that. But yeah, when you just bump into 90s stuff on the internet or on YouTube and you're watching it, and I'm like, God, this looks horrible.
Yeah. Well, not even like I was watching,
Early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. I was watching stuff from, Kobe Bryant back then.
Yeah.
And it was like,
it sucks.
It's terrible. And I'm like, man, I wish we had HD back then because,
yeah,
it's not preserved well.
No, it isn't. And I think the only way you get the good footage, because NBC and all these, or whoever did the games, if it was a professional sport, there is good footage of it. It's out there. It's just, you can't see it on YouTube. Like when you watch, if you see a highlight now that's on YouTube from today's game, it looks great. But if you're looking at 90s stuff, it's horrible. But I think if you get the actual footage, and they're able, like when that, their ESPN's kind of promoting that Bulls documentary they're going to have. I don't know if it was this year or next year it's coming out, but that stuff will look good. I'm sure it will. But
what do you think they're able to get it all?
Well, I think what it is since it's not loaded to YouTube by the person that has the original footage, it never looks good. That's what I think.
Okay.
And because I think what it is what you're seeing is what some guy taped with his VHS.
That's a good point too.
A lot of times,
yeah.
I think what you're seeing is people putting back up stuff that they recorded.
That's
with
true.
VHS. So I think that's why it looks kind of crappy. But
because when I was watching it back then, it didn't look. Yeah, you're right. Because it didn't look that bad when you were watching it on TV back then. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, even not to completely sidetrack, but the Bigfoot guys recorded all their stuff from the 80s and the 90s, and they had top of the line equipment, and they're putting stuff up now, and the stuff that they're putting up that they recorded back then is actually really nice.
Oh,
so because they had top of the line equipment,
right, for back then.
Back then. And with the stuff that they're putting up, it actually looks nice, but I think it's because it's their own, their own stuff. I mean, but it's from the 80s and 90s, but like when I've talked to certain people, they say that the camera they had back then, they had a $40,000-$50,000 camera. When they were king shit back in the 80s and 90s, and like money wasn't an issue, they had the best you could buy. So, and today when they put it back on there and you see it, it looks good. You're like, all right,
wow.
And it was kind of a lot of forethought on their side. And maybe it was just, you just did what you thought you needed to do. Maybe you just did what you thought you needed to do, but not because you thought that there would be, in 30 years, there would be YouTube, but you just did what you thought was right, and they're still using it today. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I watch this stuff, and I'm always like, well, okay, we're in the HD, 4K now. And
hold on. You want this here? Yeah, please. Thanks.
And they have 8K coming out eventually here. I'm wondering, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, are we looking at stuff that was shot in 4K and be like, oh, now it's 4K? Oh.
It's like, oh, that's garbage.
Yeah, that. But I can't imagine, I'm watching it today, and I'm like, how can it get much better than this? Like, it looks so good.
Well, and that's the thing we go through here, because if you're just going to put it on YouTube, it doesn't matter if you have it in 4K or 8K. They only put it up at a certain level.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter how amazing it is. You're only going to get to see it. It only, I guess, is if you record in 4K and then your TV is 4K and then you play right into your TV.
Yeah, they compress the video down big time. Yeah.
So, and it's obviously the same thing that Facebook does, because you can't put a 4K video on and let everybody on the world put it up on Facebook, right? Like there's got to be some kind of bandwidth limitation or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah. I just bought a new camera because I left the one I've been doing these travel videos with. It's like our 10-year-old little handy cam that I've been using.
Oh, you did get a new one.
So I did get a new one because I was just in California. We did the Reedy race, and we were heading out to do a shot at the old Team Associated building. And we get there, I go to turn on my camera, doesn't work.
Ooh.
Turn it on, no display, it's not working. Everything's just, dead in the water. I'm like, well, so I did the whole weekend. With my iPhone. So the whole video that's on YouTube right now, 100% done with my iPhone. And it actually looks really good. The sound is about as good as it was with the Handycam, and the video quality is actually probably better. So
wow,
that's kind of neat. So it's kind of cool to see. So did that video, and then we got home, and I was like, all right, well, we might as well get a fresh one. So got a new...
You're like, Thomas, go get a new camera. It's coming out of your paycheck, too.
No.
That's what you use them all the time.
Alice and I we happened to be out already, and I told Rich, I was like, I texted him, like, all right, I'm kind of by Best Buy. What do we got over here? Mm-hmm. He's like, well, you could get this thing. It's, it's kind of on sale already. It's like $300 off. So I'm like, okay, get that one.
Say no more. $300 off. I'll take it. What'd you get?
I have to look at a picture of it. Some kind of Panasonic 4K.
Some kind of camera.
I'll send it to you in the chat because we're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Looks nice. I haven't used it yet.
Well, this weekend you will be, right?
Yeah. Traveling to Missouri. So I should try and start it tomorrow. Would be a good idea. I might actually start it. I should start it here is what I should do.
You mean fire it up and test it out and everything?
Yeah, well, I should start doing some video today here at the shop, and it can kind of start like, all right, well, here's our work, packing up a little bit, getting ready. So, yep, gonna start getting it going this weekend. Start to use the new camera. Got the Reedy. Obviously, we got the Reedy one edited. Rich got that all finished up and on there. It looks good.
Our boy Mayfield taking Reedy.
Yeah, it was like I don't know, not really a surprise, but it was like a pleasant surprise. I've been since they brought the Reedy race back. This is the 10th year since they brought it back. So I think I've been to every one of them except for, I've been to 7 of the 10, I think. The first 2 years I didn't go. Paul went to OCRC. He did the race. Not OCRC, West Coast. And then I went, there was a couple of trips we brought everybody because it was, we just felt like it was nice to have the crew there. And
you brought the whole crew with you?
Brought the crew. Well, it was me, Allison, Paul, Thomas. Yeah. So we had 4. For many years we've had 4 there. But this year just Thomas and I went, and it was a little different. We lost our good tent we use at the race, usually kind of got lost in the shuffle somewhere.
What?
So we had to, we always set up a nice tent at the Reedy race. We had a tent we just basically made just for that event, and we left it out in California with Stephen Hartson. And him and his dad always took good care of all that stuff. So they actually had 2 tents, but I didn't know that. We got the tent from them last year because Stephen hasn't been racing, and Associated took it back last year. They had it at their place. Then somewhere near Nitro Challenge, Richard Saxon brought it back to us and just kind of unloaded it on us at a completely different event, which I flew to. There was no way I was going to take a tent back. So then Mayfield ended up with this tent, and then Mayfield forgot he had it, gave it to Spencer. Nobody knew where this tent was. I'm emailing. I'm like, hey, does anybody know where this tent is? Everyone's just like, I don't know. I've never seen it. And we're just like, well, we have no tent, just like,
right.
I don't know what we're going to do. So I'm texting Steven, and I'm like, hey, I know it's been a while, but you don't happen to know where the other tent is, right? He's like, no, Cav came and got that tent like 2 years ago. I haven't seen it, but he's like, I do have another tent though. I'm like, really? He's like,
Does
yeah.
it say J Concepts on it?
Yeah. He's like, I got a much older one.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what condition it's in, but we'll use it. That'd be good. So his dad brings out the tent, and actually in some turf carpeting that in 2012 Paul and I bought for the Roar Nationals out there. His dad kept that.
Oh.
So his dad brings it out. So we take this thing out of the bag, and I'm like, this thing looks like brand new. This tent is from like 2009.
Wow.
And it looks amazing.
Well, nobody ever used it.
Yeah, he said that they, but his dad was one of the guys that just, he doesn't hammer on things.
Right.
Keeps them in good shape. So we used that, and that was the tent drama of the weekend, is where to find it and where to put it up. And honestly, I don't think people even knew the difference, like between the new tent that we've been using and the 10-year-old graphic design,
Oh, okay. So, yeah, the design of the graphics are probably not as cool looking or something. I don't know. Oh, man.
It's just a different design,
I'm dying over here. Bad time to record.
Yeah, that's when it happens, right? So, and then going to the race, the race itself, I think what's tough is, it's tough at any event. Is to keep that vibe, keep that good vibe and that special feeling going all the time. And no matter which one of these events you go to, as long as it's at, the same location and it's kind of got the same people, things, they start to feel a little old after a while. And,
like a marriage.
I don't really, I don't know how to really, what to compare it to other than what you just compared it to.
That's what I thought of right away.
So it is. It's hard to keep that vibe. It's hard to keep that thing going with that special feeling. And to be honest, I think it's a 10-year run from when they brought it back to now, and it still does have a good feeling to the race, but it does lose a little. And I think that's just natural. It's not because the race isn't as good. It's the same everything. But there's always that kind of that, there's that kind of the tipping point to everything where, it just boils over. It's just the most popular and the most well-received as it can get. And then it's just, and that's it. That's the peak, right?
Right.
and we've hit that there. And there's, it's not just that event, but a lot of things you're doing, no matter what. You hit that point to where it just cannot get any better than this. It just starts to, you have to reinvent it, or you have to change something, or to get that excitement back. But they have done a good job with that event, keeping it special and exciting. But I do think that there will have to be a point to where something has to change a little bit to keep it that special feeling. We run into a little bit of a problem at that race right now, where not all the drivers that qualify for the Invitational come over and take the invite. So,
really?
Yeah, they invite about 30 drivers, and they really only ended up with about 24. But that was after kind of some throw-ins. They kind of added some people to the race that are kind of like pre-qualified in a way. Okay. So like, for instance, like Bruno Coelho, he's the world champion in four-wheel drive. He's not there. Guys like Martin Bayer who could qualify for it, or there's a ton of guys. There's a ton of guys that could qualify and be in it, but they're not there. And the reasons kind of range, I think, why they're not there. But like Bruno, for instance, he's never came. He's never been to the event.
Oh.
So it's not necessarily a surprise he's not there. But it's not. But like Michael Orlowski, always been in the invite pretty much every time he's came. He didn't come because he feels like he can't win the race. And that's kind of disappointing, because you got guys like Bruno, who he's never been because they don't feel like it's either up their alley or they should be there, or there's some reason why they don't go. And it is kind of disappointing, because it would be so much better with them than without them. Mm-hmm. So it would be nice if we could get all those guys to really commit at some point and go. So what ends up kind of happening is, there's still a great group of drivers, super, super deep field. It's still about, 15 to 20 deep, I'd say, but it could be 30 deep. So that's the only thing I see that I'd like to see come back a little bit, is getting everybody to race the invite. That has been kind of a disappointment. But all things being said, I guess the thing that really is impressive is, for this 10-year period, I'm pretty sure that Mayfield has been in it with a chance to win all the way till the last race for the last 10 years. So you could say that I seen him win it. I want to say it was his first full year or second year? 2015 is when he won it. He was racing for TLR.
That was his first one.
That was the first one he won.
Okay.
But he was in it to win all of them before that. Till the last race, and either he had a bad race or somebody else won that needed to win, and he just didn't end up winning. But 2015 he finally won, which was a huge deal. At that point he wasn't a world champion. At that point he hadn't won the Reedy race. So when he finally got that one, I think in 2015, that was a big deal, because it really kind of gave him another race title besides Roar Nationals and Cactus Classic and Dirt Nitro Challenge. He kind of was able to add something to the resume. And then ever since then, he's still been, right in it all the way till the end. And this year, it just seemed like everything, I'm not going to say went his way, but it kind of did. There was really no letdowns. from him. No real poor finishes. He didn't break at all, which has hurt him in the past. Like he would break once, and then you have to take a finish that you don't quite want, and all that stuff happens. And it's happened to him. So
Jeez.
it was interesting to be involved in a race like that, where it was really kind of his. From about the fourth or fifth round in four-wheel drive all the way to the end. And it was nice to see him kind of learn from different ways that he's lost the race.
Yeah.
And now, having, being able to win it kind of outright. I'm not going to say easily, but he kind of won easily. Of course, a lot of this is because of the way the races play out and stuff. But it was nice. It was nice to see him win. It was being, he got new contract this year with Hobby Wing Electronics, and I know that it was important for him to show that he could win something big. He's got one done now with Hobby Wing. He's won the Reedy race with Yokomo and the Worlds with Yokomo. So, I mean, there's no arguing the guy's results. The guy gets results. And I think they made some improvements with their cars. The Yokomo has. They've been working on the four-wheel a little, which I think the four-wheel's probably been their better car, although I think there's some that would disagree. But for Ryan, it's been one of their better cars. And then the two-wheel, he's always got something. He's always going down some kind of rabbit hole trying to adjust or fix something that he's kind of not happy with. And then he figures that part out, and then he digs into something else. And he's really put a lot of work into that two-wheel drive over the years to kind of get it where he wants. And it seems like every 2 or 3 months he kind of makes another step with the car, making it a little bit better for him. And it was nice to see him get a win with the overall, because I think he's been working on that two-wheel quite a bit, getting it the way he wants. And for him, he's been more patient than he probably would have been 10 years ago, working on it, getting a little bit quicker. And so there was also some good highlights. Spencer obviously got second overall. He had there's probably 1 or 2 races. I mean, everybody wishes they had a couple races back, but he's got 2 that kind of cost him the ability to have a better finish than he did. But he was pretty happy. It was the best he ever finished, was second. He hasn't won that one yet, but he's obviously in line. He's in line to win that thing at some point. So
obviously.
And then Cavallari got third, then Dakota got fourth, and then Brock Champlin got fifth, and I think Ty Tessman got sixth, something like that. And that's it. Those are the best. That's got to be the best 6 guys in 10 scale off-road in America. So it was a good race, and the open classes were good. I always enjoy the open class at Reedy because it's like it's a kind of a good barometer of where you're at in racing. How much more work do you have to go? Some people think they've arrived or they're the next big thing or whatever, but if you can't, I think it's outside the door. If you can't perform in the open class there, then
it's going to be a rough year.
You're not ready yet.
Yep.
You're just not ready. And, guys win that class and they bump up into the invite. That's usually the reward, is if you win open, you get to be in the invite the next year. And There's some guys that could have ran invite, like Aiden Horn. He won 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive? No, he won 2-wheel drive. He was the fastest guy in both classes, but I felt he also could have been in the invite easily. He was in the invite last year, so he raced open, and just because of the way the qualifications worked out, he raced open. It was kind of his class to win, but in 4-wheel he made too many mistakes, and Tom Rinnerneck won that one. Which, I mean, the parents of these kids when they won were so excited.
Oh yeah,
that was probably like, I mean,
the coolest part. Yeah,
yeah. It's like cool. It's like neat all at the same time. It's like, I mean, it's, you can just kind of see like when they won it, it was almost like they were kind of like relieved, like, okay, finally all this work and time and energy we're putting into this got us something.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how it is. If you know what I mean? I think you see that in people's expressions when they finally do something they've been working for a while for, that you kind of see that all come out, like, you know, finally.
Yeah, my parents never got to experience that.
Well, maybe when you won the P main.
No. Not exactly. The P main. I'm proud of that, man. I'm proud of it.
You know what? So am I. Yeah, I'd never seen, it was the first time I've ever seen the parents join in on the champagne spraying. I thought that was a little funny. But you could see they were into it.
That's cool.
Like, I'm going to be a part of this moment. But I'm not a parent, so I wouldn't know what it's like, but it's got to be. I mean, I know how it is having our racers and being attached to their results and wanting the best, but I mean, you can just see that the difference that I see is I think that I can be along for the ride with Mayfield and Spencer, but you're allowed to you have other options, right? So you can't be completely in the saddle for one and not the other. You have to ride in everyone's car a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the, you know, the nature of that position. But when you're a parent, you are on only one car, right? Like, there's not like, unless you have multiple kids racing, like Al Horn, his kids got first and second, which was awesome. But, and I watch him sometimes to see what it's like to have two kids racing. And he's pretty cool about it, actually. He'll watch one, you know, and then he's like, all right, these guys kind of he's settling in. I'll bump back. I'll check on the other one. You know, he'll check on the other one, how he's doing. And, but he's watched them enough race already. You know, I'm sure they got 10 years of experience already. So, you know, he's obviously seen them race enough, but like, yeah, you watch and yeah, they're living in those cars, and every little bobble, little issue, it's got to be tough. I mean, I know how it is for me watching these events. I mean, it's got to be worse for them. I know Ronnie, you know, Spencer, Ronnie brings a lucky coin to the races.
Does he?
Yeah, and he I forget how it started, how the whole thing started, but yeah, he'll tell me, you know, he'll like get somewhere, and he doesn't bring it, I think, all the time. You know, you don't want to wear out your super.
Yeah, right.
Right. But you know, he'll be like, hey, I brought the coin with me this weekend. You're like, uh-oh.
It's over.
Uh-oh, yeah. But, and he did. He had it in Japan when Spencer won. He had it in Slovakia when Spencer won. So he knows when to pull out the coin. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think the best race I ever ran heads up with somebody was at a club race. So maybe somebody had a lucky coin when I was running that club race. I have ran good at other races, but I beat Kinwald heads up at Lake Park once, and I was like, he was there a week early practicing, which was kind of in a way was showing some respect to us, because he knew if he didn't come that early, he wasn't going to be, wasn't going to be able to compete. So, and obviously he was right, because I beat him at the club race, and he knew that he needed a week of practice, and then when it came to the actual race, he won and I got second. But it was still funny. Just about as close. It just the cars were in reverse positions. But yeah, that lucky coin.
You got to be like, damn it, Kinwald.
He bumped me too. He got me. I mean, it wasn't like a full takeout, but it was enough. I was pissed.
You wanted to throw him off the driver's stand?
Oh, yeah. I've wanted to do that several times.
I know that. After 96.
Yeah, there's several times. But you don't. You congratulate him on the win, even though you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Do the right thing. But, yeah, it's interesting how all that stuff kind of played out. I got people that come to me to this day that know they've seen those races, and they're like, hey, I remember that happening to you.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I didn't forget, bro.
You know what's kind of funny, though, is Brian and I did a short course race at RC Excitement, and this is probably 10 years ago, back when short course was super popular and everybody was running it. I was running it. And we had a race where, what the heck happened? I think I TQ'd, and he was second in short course, and in the main, there was just a single main, and I made a mistake. Not a big one, but enough for him to get by, and I was in second. And I was like, I remember racing going, you know what? I'm going to get this guy back. And there was a little front straightaway section, and I gave him just enough of a tap that I got by him, and I won it. And I was like, you know what? I said, it took me, well, let's see, what year would that have been? 97. So it was 13 years later, but I finally got him back. Granted, I would much rather have the first one.
Right.
If we could reverse it, you know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
But nope. Didn't work. But anyway, it was funny. And I don't remember if I mentioned it to him or not, but I'm sure he remembers. Because the Boo Birds were out at Lake Park with that.
Oh. Boo.
Yeah, it was a big deal. But yeah, Reedy race. Aiden Horn, Tom Rinderneck, open winners, and then Mayfield doing his thing.
All right, that was the Reedy race, and then I posted on Facebook that Ryan gave us some items to give away, a hoodie and a hat, right? Autographed?
That's right.
And those are worn by Mayfield. Am I correct on that? Race worn?
The hat is.
The hat is.
The sweatshirt. What happened with the sweatshirt is I'd pulled that out for a racer. It was brand new. And I'd set it in our pit. And our pits are right next to where they do the trophy presentation. And so when all the guys and the dads were doing their champagne celebration, they got a little champagne on the sweatshirt. So I was like, we can't sell this thing now.
But we can give it away.
So we had Ryan autograph it, and it's a good giveaway because now it's part of the celebration.
That's awesome.
And his hat, that's why he gave me the hat too, because he's like, this thing has got champagne on it. So
give it to Gotti.
I'm like, you know what? They're good. I mean, man, it's like having a jersey from the locker room of where they.
Absolutely.
It's like legit stuff.
Yeah. So the winner of that hoodie is me. So I made the post on Facebook about it, and I don't know what I did wrong. I didn't think I did anything wrong. I don't think I was misleading here, was I? Let me just read this real quick.
Not if you read it. When you read it to me, it's not.
Yeah, no, I didn't. So everybody assumed that Ryan Mayfield was going to be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of questions in here for Ryan.
Which we can go down them. I can answer some of the ones I know because there's some that I know.
I had to go back and read it. I'm like, wait a minute, did I say?
Well, that was the first thing I clicked on it, and I'm like, people are asking questions.
I'm like, oh wait, they think Mayfield's on the show.
I guess when you see it, when you just see it, you think, I don't know,
Yeah. Oh well, all good.
Let me pull it up here. What is the name of the page? RIP.
Cole Henriksen, what's your take on the Super Bowl? Well, I didn't want Kansas City to win. That was my take. Only because they disrespected the Brady jersey. The fans had a Brady jersey and they threw it down on the steps. And as they were leaving the arena, the stadium, they stepped on it. So the hell with them.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you really asked them, they would probably tell you that, hey, you can't deny.
And we did an episode last week with Kirby talking about the Super Bowl coming up, and so we're trying to get him back on for the post Super Bowl show. But I don't know how that's gonna go, guys.
I don't see that going as well.
Yeah, I might just have to scratch that one. Here's a question for you, Jason. Have you ever been recognized in public for your involvement in RC?
Yeah.
Have you? Just out in the public?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm not talking about like at some event, the monster truck event. I mean, like, walking around the mall, something like that.
Yeah, I have.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with Mayfield where he's gotten approached before.
But you have?
I have, yeah.
That's cool. All right.
I mean, I actually was in the mall during, I think it was right after Christmas. And I was waiting on Allison to come out of the store, like the stereotypical, situation. Like I'm sitting there doing nothing, and Allison's finishing up in a store, and guy comes up to me and he's just starts talking to me.
He's
about
like staring at you. He's like checking you up and down. Boy, are you Jason Ruona?
And it is a little strange. I mean, it's nice, it's cool that people, know, can recognize you from something, and it does happen. I've had it happen several times, and Stinger Motorsport, the gun store. I'm trying to get rid of some invites I got here. But it's nice. It's definitely. What is it that people say?
I don't know. What is it that they say?
There's something that I'll think of it.
I think we discussed this on the show once. Do you use anything like VRC or a game to practice to keep your skills up? Jason does not. Nope.
Yeah, I never have.
We did talk to somebody that did, though,
Yeah, there's people that do.
on the show.
Mayfield never has. He's never had any of the equipment. I would think that if you talk to him about it, he would just say it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I think, he, at this point, he believes, even he has times where he believes that even practicing doesn't do anything for him. And I'm not saying that I support that theory, but I know that that's what he's said before, because he wants to race, is what he said. He goes, the tough part is, he's like, if I just go and practice, he's like, it's one thing if if somebody sends me something and is like, all right, go test, this body or wing or whatever. He's like, no, that's fine. But he's like, for me to just go practice, he's like, there's nothing on the line. So he's like, the part he's like that I struggle with is he thinks that it's racing with the other cars and the other people that are as skilled as you is what makes him better. Right. It's not just driving around the track.
That's a good point.
So, that's what I know. That's what he has said that a bunch. Is he's just like, some of this stuff just doesn't help, and he's like, I wish, he felt a little differently about it, but that's kind of how he feels. Is he wants to drive with the other cars, and he really prefers them to be better, to be top of the line racers. That's what he feels is doing the best for him, is when he gets in that situation where he can run with other fast guys. Then I think he's perfectly fine with doing it and being being a part of it. But it's not that he won't go run and drive his stuff. I know he went to Hobby Action and he drove his stuff before CRC and the Reedy race. He went and drove it, but I've seen him go and run before, and he really kind of has his own things that he's kind of shaking down. He's not really shaking down his skill. What he's shaking down is the vehicles and the product, and making sure that it's ready to go when it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of pointless for him to just go somewhere and practice.
Yeah, and I try to encourage him to do that.
You do?
I like when he does go and run, but
just to brush up on certain things, because he travels so much. You think that, okay, I'm going to practice when I get to the track.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to get tuned in. But for him to just go on a Saturday morning somewhere and just practice, I don't know what he's getting out of it. He's already a pro. He's already a world champ. He's already best of the best. What is he going to go and practice? Mm-hmm. Besides, like you said, testing a wing or something, a body, tires.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for.
I would think, just show up to a track.
Accuracy there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing it either.
Yeah, I've given us some reasons that he should, and he does. He will. He takes my opinion. And he'll go and run, and he'll tell me, and I give him other things to kind of shoot for, and instead of just driving, and sometimes I'll try to think of some things, and
yeah, like what?
Well, what I'll say is, hey, when we were at this last race, you kind of had some trouble with this. Why don't you, go take care of this right now before we get to the next event, and then that's one less thing we got to worry about. And, just things like that. And
I guess you could practice your jumping and stuff, right?
No.
like
He doesn't do that.
But I mean, you can, right? I mean, you can. Hey, I had troubles with that at a triple or something. Well, I don't know.
What they do is what they look at is if they're having trouble with that, those guys don't say that it's their fault. They go back and say, hey, there's something wrong with the equipment here that I need to look at. And if that's what they think and that's what they're convinced of, that's fine to me, but I encourage them to go out and figure out what that is. So it's like if somebody tells me, hey, my car doesn't jump for some reason, I always say, all right, well, let's go figure out what that is. Is it a power thing? Is it a, you know what I mean? Is it a power thing? Is it a car thing? Is it a setup thing? Yeah, let's get that, let's not just use that as an excuse for the next race too. Let's figure that out now and get it over with. So when we arrive at the next race, then we don't have that part to think about.
Okay.
And I'm a little more into, and I would say that I'm a little more into the mental and the delivery part of being a racer than the setup and the equipment of the cars. I think that there's a lot going on with the racers that just they can work on being a better driver mentally, and not necessarily that has anything to do with their equipment. I just think that there's things they can be better at as a driver, and that's what I kind of encourage people to do, is they go out there and they start telling me about things that they want to do, and I'm like, well, you're not, it's like, hey, did you invite me to a Moonlight Bunny Ranch site?
I think yes, I did.
I'm like, I'm going through these pages trying to get rid of this.
Yeah, I did.
Anyway.
Yeah. Give them a like.
I probably should like it.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I kind of encourage these guys to do is, I talk to them about these things, and if somebody starts telling me they need to test and work on their equipment, but I know they're not out there getting a clean 5, 6, 10-minute run in, I'm like, look, there's other things you can be working on here besides your equipment. There's some things you got to work on for you.
Right.
And those are the things that I like people to be able to say, work on, and get better at. When I would go and run, like those times when Kinwald had to come and race me, when we used to go practice, I would only do 5-minute runs, and they had to be perfect. That was my goal, is when I wanted every one of my runs to be 5 minutes, no mistakes, because I always felt like however the track was going to evolve or change, you never know when you have to run your best. And I felt like that was my best opportunity to do anything in RC, was to just run the best 5-minute qualifier I could get. And that's what I concentrated on. I'm sure I looked at the fastest laps, but I was like, I'm going to do the fastest lap I can do for the whole time. And it wasn't just, me trying to come out of nowhere and have a couple fast laps and then completely blow out. It's like I wanted the best 5-minute run. And I think there's a lot of people that just don't concentrate on that. They only look at their speed, and they figure if they have speed, then they can turn that into something. But the truth is that's just part of the equation. You got to be able to run the whole time. When you get these guys going like Mayfield and stuff at a nitro race, they'll do it for 45, 60 minutes. They won't make one mistake.
Whew, man.
And that's what's hard to beat. It's not your one fast lap. What's hard to beat is trying to match that kind of speed and consistency together.
There's no room for error.
Yeah, if you want to win at that level, you have to be clean. So it's such a simple thing to me, but so overlooked for everybody. So overlooked. Overlooked to the point where it's annoying.
All right. Well, that was a
what I think Mayfield and these guys reflect on when they get in a big race moment is they reflect back to a point where they know they've done that before, and that is their the experts tell you that if you're going to be good at something, you have to visualize it happening. So, and what I say is, when you do something well, now you have that in your memory banks. You have that in your inner, whatever you call it. It's in your psyche or something. And when you get called upon in those similar moments, if you can bring yourself back to those moments when you were successful, you repeat the process. And that's what the experts say in any kind of sports psychological, what is it called? Sports psychology. Sports psychology is, those are the kind of things that the experts say, is you have to have you have to visualize it happening. And so if you've done it before, you get back into that mindset, that frame of mind where you were at, and something starts feeling familiar to you, and you go, you know what? I've been here before. I've done something like this, and now I'm going to do it again. And
muscle memory.
Yeah, and that's how these guys do it. And when you watch, the Mayfields or any of these those top guys, when they get rolling at a race and they are just clicking those things off, just all the time, those same laps, and just and they're thinking about, I've done this before and I can do this, and they're not just constantly repeating to themselves, well, I'm ready to blow out this lap, when's my crash coming? They're thinking of the ideal is you're thinking of the best possible result. Sure, it doesn't always happen, but that's how the successful people, I think, view it. And I think those are the kind of things that I think Ryan is trying to say when he talks about practice, is he can't simulate that. So he feels like, in order for me to practice at that level, I have to put myself in that position. I have to put myself under the pressure. I have to put myself in that frame of mind for it to be valuable. Otherwise, he's just driving around the track. Mm-hmm. So, of course, there's a lot of people that need that experience. They haven't mastered the driving of the track. The guys that can't do 5 minutes, the guys that can't do 7 minutes, those are the guys that need to practice, right? But the other guys can sharpen their pencil in other ways. So that's my theory.
Man, talking about practice.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of practice.
And it's different, and everything's a little bit different, of course, because if you're playing a team sport, there's plays. You have a coach. You have things you're supposed to do. You have a game plan, right? Well, when you're doing something individual, the game plan is with yourself. That's where and certainly if you have some people around you that are helping you do some things, but in the end, it's still the game plan is with you and yourself. There is no, it's not a team sport. It's right. Not, you're not learning plays. You're not, doing all this kind of stuff. It's different. You're you're in a little different situation. So it is a little different. I do think that you have to be active, but active could also be driving anything. You could be just going out to have fun and just staying in the game a little bit. I think there's an activity part of it, which is good. And I think there's no replacement for driving the real car. The video games and all that, or the games. There's some guys that have told me they think it's helped them, and that's cool. But
maybe as far as getting a feel for the track and stuff, yeah. But layout.
I just don't think that you're ever going to. There's a lot of things about RC you just can't recreate like that. But
the traction surface, no way.
Yeah, and not to mention the nervousness, the pressure, the round. So much of this, especially at a nitro race, is when you're going up to run either your qualifier or the main is, and that's where the mental part that I talk about and think about is there's a lot of stuff going on around you that you don't have any control over. Like there's this time the main is going to start, and you don't have any control over when it's going to start. The time is just coming. It's ticking. So now you got to, in between then, you got to get your cars ready. Well, there's this thing going on. The clock, the hourglass is turned upside down, right? Mm-hmm. And you're working on your car. You're thinking about the race, how things changing. You're talking to your people, and that hourglass is still going. And that race is coming up, and you can't call a timeout. You can't say, hey, I'm not ready. I'll do this tomorrow. It's just, this has got to happen. And then you start to fire the cars up, and then everyone fires their cars up. And now there's just this buzz going on where people are you have to talk loud. You're yelling at each other because the cars are loud, and you're trying to discuss a little bit of strategy. And then you got people, you're watching the other drivers. Hey, what's he going to do here? What tires is he running? And and you can hear their engines, and so now it's become so real. And now, knowing all these things, all right, I prepped my car. This is the tire I'm going with. Race is coming up. We're in the next race. There's a lot of noise going on, and people asking you questions still, and then you got to go up, and then you got to perform. So that's the part I think that is really, really cool about what we do. You can't just hit pause and say, I don't want to do this today. I want to do it tomorrow. It's right now. It's happening right now. And you got to have kind of managed your time all the way up until that race in order to be at your best. And lots of times it's weird because you're trying to do all these things. You probably haven't eaten very well. It's usually the case. You normally don't sleep very well. So you're really doing everything opposite of probably what you should be doing to perform in anything. But you're doing it in all those situations. You probably only slept 5 or 6 hours, and then you had chicken fingers for dinner, and you know what I mean? Like lots of these guys have a few beers, and it's like now you're kind of getting going. And then once you start to get locked in on that event, that single thing you got to do, it's pretty amazing. It really is. And then when you talk to these guys, and I know this from my racing, but when you talk to Ryan, they know everything that's going on when they're racing. Everything. They know when they can. I know this from when I'm racing too, but it's even more. It's even cooler from their standpoint. Is they know when when their competition does a pit stop. They know when they're doing a pit stop. They know where they are on the track. They know what what the pit guys are doing below them. They're like, hey, so and so is already pit. Why haven't I pit yet? So and then they, all these things they're picking up on, and they're realizing while they're driving at a top level.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had Mayfield come off the stand, and he'll be like, "What the hell was Tebow doing in that corner back there?" He's like, it seemed like he was making up time on me back there. He's like, I'm trying to figure out what the hell am I doing wrong back there? He's like, what is he doing? And I'm like, well, I go, Tebow was on the complete other side of the track as you. I'm like, how? Like, you're in the left corner, he's in the right corner. Like, I'm like, how are you even? No, I can just see it. I can see what's going on. It's like, he's like, I can see he was going faster there. I'm like, well, yeah, he was doing it different than you were. This is how he was doing it. Okay, I knew something was going on. And but and they're realizing all this stuff while they're driving. So it's managing all those things and your emotions when something didn't go right. It's pretty shocking. It really is. And that's what I think is kind of neat about it, is all that goes into being successful. And it's not just whoever turns the fastest lap. And it's who puts all that part together. And it's pretty neat. It'll be like, these guys will be like, yeah, so I pitted. He's like, and, Ty just came in and pit. He's like, I saw his mom do the pit. His mom did the fuel gun. And it's like, dude, you're in the middle of the track driving your car at speed, and you can see and you're also seeing their pits.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast and he mentioned where he's watching other guys on track.
Yeah. Nope. And it's weird because I know in my racing, there are times where if I'm racing with somebody that, for me was obviously really tough to race, like a JR Mitch, just, a tough competitor, somebody who's always just as fast, if not faster. And as a driver, when you know where they are on the track, you can either use that as your motivation, or it starts to affect you because you think that they're starting to catch you. So that can affect your, how you're doing. So you have to be able to use it both ways. And those guys are very good at that. They don't just see that their competition's in second and then they just fall apart. What I mean?
Right.
Like of course that happens here and there. It's kind of natural that, here and there you have bad races, but but lots of times you start, they'll see it and they will see it like, all right, now I can see how fast I'm really going. And then they're like, oh, I noticed that, like I said, I noticed he caught me back there. What is he doing different? And they start making adjustments while they're driving, and pretty soon the guy's not catching them anymore. And this is without a headset. A lot of guys are driving now with a headset, so they got this direct, right to their mechanic. But I think the guys that are the best, they're seeing all that while they're driving, and they're making those adjustments on their own. I know we did a Nitro Challenge once where they had a whoop section. And I remember during the main, Ryan was having trouble in there, and he was racing with three other guys that were, going good. And he just said he got frustrated because every time he'd get there, he's like, those guys would gain like 3 feet on him. So he said he's like, I stopped and I just watched him go through it, but I only stopped long enough to just see what was different. He's like, and then the next lap I came through there, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try that. He's like, he goes, I'm giving up time anyway. He's like, I might as well just stop and see what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And I'm like, for me, I would like never do that because it's like, I don't think I could ever afford to give up time to anybody. But, he's obviously thinking, what's the difference if I get second or third? I really want to win.
Yeah.
So, to me, I'm thinking second or third is good, right? But for him, he's like, I'm going for the win. And if I'm going to go for the win, then I need to figure out what the hell's going on here. So kind of cool stuff, and beyond just practicing and beyond setting up. Those are all the other factors that I don't know if everybody really realizes goes into being successful.
I think that was the longest answer to a question we ever had. So I hope that answers it. Rod Case. That was his question.
I forgot it was even a question.
It went along with that VRC. All right, answer this one for Ryan, Jason. What went through your mind during the 2017 Worlds when your car flipped over?
I know what he's talking about. I want to say that Ryan talked about it, and the kid that marshaled him, I want to say this was the first main when he kind of had it wrapped up. He just had to do the last couple jumps, go across the finish line, and he crashed on one of the back jumps, and the marshal, one of the Yokomo kids, was in, because it's B main turn marshal is the A main, and I want to say he was a B main racer for Yokomo, and that kid was on top of it, man. Had to be one of the best marshals I've ever seen. The kid didn't bobble it. He put the car down on the downside of the jump, if I remember correctly. Like, he did everything that you wanted a turn marshal to do. So, and I remember Ryan talking about it like he wasn't really that concerned, which was kind of weird. He's like, I remember him saying it, and he's like, yeah, I kind of had a gap, and I was just thinking if the marshal wasn't, if he didn't, mess up, he's like, I should be fine. And he's like, I don't think he really panicked all that much, which in that situation, it'd be tough not to panic. But I think that there's some days when it's just, you just feel it, I think. There's some days when you're just feeling it, and I think that was one of those days for him where he was just feeling it. Like, he was like, I'm putting an end to this deal. Whether it's with my driving, I got to have a little thing go my way, and that one thing, the marshal really helped him out when he crashed by just doing the job right. And so, yeah, I don't remember Ryan said that he was all that nervous about it. But I'm sure he had to have panicked a little bit.
I'd imagine. Yeah. He might have even been on the show talking about that. So go back and listen to the past episode. Oh, man, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be with you guys here. My chest is killing me. I don't know what's going on.
What else we got?
Dream might come true.
What other questions we got? I'm watching the end of this video right now.
Which one?
This with the turn marshal. This 2017 Worlds. Mm-hmm. So he's coming around here. This has to be one of his last laps. He's got a pretty nice lead here. Double. There's a little crash. The kid, boom. Perfect turn marshal. Second place did get a little closer. Last lap, last turn. But yeah, as far as a turn marshal, you couldn't have asked for a better job. Copy video. I want to say that copy video URL. I want to say that there was somewhere online somewhere that like Rick Howard kind of took a shot at him somewhere, like, oh, better thank that marshal.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, there's somewhere. I forget where it was on Facebook, or I saw it somewhere. Like it was like, he was like kind of giving him shit, like that the marshal saved his day, and it's like, well, maybe he did. Maybe he did. You know what? Sometimes you need something to go your way.
Absolutely.
None of these Super Bowls or NBA titles. There's always these little questionable calls here and there that kind of go a certain direction, and that is kind of part of their success.
It's all part of the game. Not much you can do about it. Let's touch on this real quick. 2020 stock worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, well, James Cotlett messaged me about this. I had no idea about it. I'm like, 2020, and I messaged you right away. I'm like, stock worlds? What?
Yeah.
This isn't IFMAR, obviously.
Yeah, right. I think... Right now, I know we need to. I think in general, you can't say enough good things about the people that do that race there. The CRC people, the guy that builds the tracks and everything, they're awesome. As far as it's just a name, they're just putting a name on it, hoping that it attracts attention, right? We call it Indoor National Series for us because it's a national series. But we made it say national because you want it to have a higher profile. So they're just throwing worlds on it to hopefully attract people that think that.
So this isn't the first time somebody's thrown worlds in there?
No, there's been other times.
Oh, well then, all right. Well, my feelings on stock racing, so
I don't. To me, having anything that has to do with stock in a world is, to me, definitely a contradiction in terms. To me, stock isn't world's level.
Yeah, no way.
To me, it's if you're racing a world, you're racing a car with a modified motor, or it's open, we'll say. I think anything stock or 17.5 just isn't worlds capable, because the whole idea of being a world champion is being the best in the world. And not everybody from the worlds that's the best driver is going to race it. So you're basically the best of who came to the race. You're not the world champion. You're the best of who attended, because there's clearly better people, right?
Right.
If you got, you put all the Spencers and Mayfields and Cavalieris and Dakotas and Bruno Coelhos, and you put all those guys out there, the freaking results would be a little bit different.
Yeah, just a tad.
So it's just a name, and anybody can see it the way they want to see it. I just see it as another race, and if you want to race stock and run at a good track, that's what you do. The race named Worlds, I'm certainly not going to, whoever wins it, I'm not going to say they're the world champion. It's just not happening, but that's how it is.
All right. Funniest thing ever happened to you on a driver's stand?
Oh, there's a bunch.
What's the funniest?
There was one well, there's always funny times when people yell at you. I've had people yell at me before. Barry Baker, Greg Hodab, and when you think back about them, they're funny. Or if you hear it on replay, some of these are on video because of back then, so you can hear them and they're funny. There's one that's kind of, I'm not going to say who the guy was on the driver's stand, but there's been several times when there was a guy that was a little more outspoken that raced in Florida. I remember him yelling at a turn marshal, but it wasn't like, "Hey, marshal, get my car."
Yeah.
It was, you heard like a moan, like he's just like like, you know, I crashed in the wrong spot. First, that was the first part I heard, was like sort of this like, oh man, not here. And the next thing we heard was, lose some weight or something.
Oh man.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. So yeah, I remember that one. That was pretty amazing. Yeah, I've had Yuka Stenari yell at me on the driver's stand, say I didn't know what I was doing.
Really?
Told me I was better than that. I've had oh man, there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Man,
and there's so many you hear about. That's the other part, is you hear about a lot of good ones too. And it's kind of part of being in the racing and in the moment. Another thing, going back to the other thing, was these are all the things that are happening while you're racing. So you got to be able to juggle all those things too. Like when someone's yelling at you or told you, you know, you did something to them, you got to still race through that. So that makes it, what makes it kind of, also makes it unique. Sometimes the guy's standing next to you, right?
Yep.
I had somebody, and this is a little a little different, but we were racing once on a Super Cup, and a guy came to watch with his kid and set his kid right on the rail in between me and Ryan Eckert while we were running a qualifier. So we're running a qualifier, and this like spectator just comes right on the driver's stand and sets their kid like right on the rail between us, and is like swinging his feet, you know, like like. And I'm kind of, Ryan and I were, you know, the guys between us, and I didn't say anything because I'm like trying to stay into the race or the qualifier, but Ryan was like, he's like, hey man, you're not supposed to come up here to watch, you know, this is like for drivers only. And he's saying this while he's racing, and it was funny.
Kid staring at you, picking his nose.
He's just like, but he's doing the thing with his feet. That was the funny part.
Yeah.
Was his feet were like, wee, you know? And so Ryan tells his kid, and the other funny thing I remember was we were doing a race at Superior Hobbies. They did club racing on their parking lot racing. Paul and I are running on road or touring car, and Ben Wallace was there racing that day. You know, the NBA player.
Absolutely. Who you need to get on the show? You said you're gonna try. So
yeah, I know. There is people we could talk to. I know, but anyway. Mm-hmm. So we're up there getting ready and we're like checking in. You know, got the cars out on the track. Ben like gets in between us, and he's just huge, you know. It's just, I mean, you got Paul, whatever height he is, and me, I'm like whatever, 5'7", 5'8", and Ben Walls comes and stands between us, and we're just like, holy crap. But then Paul goes, hey Ben, you're not in this race, dude. and he just goes, oh my bad.
Oh my bad.
He just pulls off. Sorry.
Get off here. Get off the stand.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There was another time there's so many of these, but
yeah.
Another one was, I wasn't on, or was I driving? Yeah, I was driving. So, Paul wasn't, I was racing Nitro. Paul wasn't pitting me. He's like, I'm going to videotape the race. Okay. So I forget whoever was pitting me, but we're racing, and the race starts. Paul gets on the driver's stand. He's videoing, and a guy that was also racing started yelling at his pit crew that Paul needed to get off the driver's stand. He's like, he's in my way up here, you know, even though he wasn't anywhere close.
Right.
So so Paul's telling me this afterwards because I was racing. So, I kind of heard something going on, but it's nitro. So anyway, he was built. This guy's name is Dave. Kind of a nice guy, actually, but he was just built. It's freaking muscle guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a monster.
Right, sort of like
he was the one. Right. So I guess he comes up and he comes behind Paul, just grabs him by the shoulders, picks him up. Right. So Paul's video and this guy just picks him up by the shoulders and like starts walking him down the driver's stand. And Paul like just goes off on this guy.
Paul's feet is swinging like that little kid's on the driver's stand.
Yeah. But when he got down, he just like went at him, and it was just like, don't ever effing touch me again. He just goes off on this big dude.
Wow.
And the guy was like, man, I'm sorry. And like the guy kind of totally backed down and was like, man, I'm sorry. The guy said something. Pretty funny.
That's awesome. It's always a little guy with the biggest bark.
It was funny though, but because later the guy came back over to us and he was just he actually liked it. The guy was kind of like, you know what? No one's ever done that to me before. Like no one's ever just.
He had respect for Paul now. He's like,
Yeah, he's like, I'm not letting this guy's not going to be screwed with.
Oh damn.
Hey, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Gotta give me a minute. I don't know how I'm going to pause this. I'll turn my mic on.
Go ahead. I'm going to give away the hoodie and the hat while you're doing that. Okay. And Jason probably just hung up on me. Anyway, so Ryan Mayfield autograph hoodie and hat. The hat was worn by Mayfield. We got champagne all over this stuff from the Reedy race. So I'm going to give that away to patrons of the show. Patreon.com/radioimpound. So if you support the show over there, as little as $1 a month, it gets you into running for the prizes that we give away. Once a month, we do this. So again, these are from Reedy. Jason got them from Mayfield, and big thanks to Mayfield for donating these prizes to us. So we'll give away the hat here. I have all your names in the name picker here, and the hat is going to go to Javier Anaya. You win the Ryan Mayfield hat. Congratulations, Javier, and thanks for supporting the podcast. Now, let's give away the hoodie. And the hoodie is going to go to, it's rotating here, Cletus Snow. Cletus Snow, congratulations. You have won yourself the autograph Ryan Mayfield hoodie that, again, has champagne on it from the Reedy race. So thanks again for everybody that supports the pod over at patreon.com/radioimpound. All right, and we're just waiting on Jason to return. And just a reminder that we did 2 episodes last week. The first episode was Kirby and I we were talking about the Kobe Bryant tragedy that happened last Sunday. And then we also had some pre-Super Bowl talk in there. And then I did a podcast on Wednesday of last week, 3 days after. We called it 3 days later, and that was about, again, Kobe Bryant. I did that myself. Just finding out new info about the accident, and was just talking about it, and I had people, some of you listeners, message me, so I was in there thanking you guys for the messages and stuff like that. So it's just a little podcast that I do. I might sprinkle in some of these ones that are 15, 20 minutes long, and it's just me babbling on about something, and just trying to get you some more content out there, guys. So,
hello,
and he's back.
We're back.
So I gave away the hat and the hoodie, and I have the hoodies going to Cletus Snow.
Okay.
And the hat is going to Javier Anaya.
Okay, perfect. I know both of them. Ironically, Cletus Snow, his race name in RC is Vince McMahon.
Oh, is that Vince McMahon?
That's Vince.
Oh, all right. That's awesome. So that's his race name, stage name.
Yep.
Okay.
His race name.
Good to know. Good to know.
So what else we got? What other kind of questions we got?
All right, yeah, we'll wind it down here.
Okay.
What's Ryan's favorite race to attend every year? I think he's answered that on that.
I think it is the Dirt Nitro Challenge.
Okay.
It used to be the Cactus Classic, but I think his favorite now is the Nitro Challenge.
Mm-hmm. Does Ryan have any lucky socks or lucky items that he? Oh, you mentioned about Spencer with his dad with the coin.
Yeah. I don't think Ryan does any of that stuff.
I was going to say, I don't picture Ryan being superstitious, so.
I think the only thing that sometimes I've seen these guys change bodies occasionally. And sometimes you think like maybe they're like trying to, ward off some bad luck from a run or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would probably do that too, like try to change. If you had multiple, just change something, right? It's like that couldn't have went any worse. Let me change something and change. It's maybe you had a new body on your car or something, and you're like, I'm going back to my old body. This thing was bad luck. Maybe something like that, but I don't think there's not something I've seen him anything carry race to race.
That was from Will Britton, and congratulations, Will. Kansas City Chiefs fan there. So Will's been waiting a long time for a Super Bowl. Finally got it.
Well, I don't know who Allman's asking this about, but it seems like I still say that the brushless motors and the LiPo batteries are the best thing that has come along in RC racing. I don't really think a lot of the changes with the car's development has been as significant as that. The tires have improved, since about the tires really came a long way starting in about 1997, 1998. The tires really came along a lot in RC, but I just don't think none of those things have added what the brushless and the battery stuff has really done for the capability of electric RC cars. I still think that's the best. I think the bottom part here, I think there's a lot of prototype parts that have that never made it to production that have been good. I mean, or have been memorable. I think that was his memorable. Oh man, for me, any of the stealth cars, those never made it to production, but they were the most memorable. I think for sure those have to be the tops. That double X that Losi had with the prototype Hydra drive, that was really cool at that same race. That car never made it production the way it was raced there. Of course, they made a true double X, but was totally different. I can't say totally different, but it was pretty different. Those are items I think of off the top of my head. I mean, 8-scale cars in that racing, man, I don't really see anything that really stands out to me in that. I think the engines have gotten a lot better, and the electrical have gotten better in that business. In the 8-scale side, servos. I think a lot of those items have gotten better, and we get a little trickle down effect. but it's still a hobby car that has to meet a certain sales price. So, we're not talking about a Formula One RC car that price is unlimited, right? This is still a budget thing. You have to fit into somebody's budget. They have to be able to buy it. So that's where we get limited a little bit on technology or how far you can go in racing because of the price. It's like, whatever you get a B6.2 for right now, I think we're looking it up is like $340, which I consider still on a little bit on the, that's the market right now. That's what a lot of the cars go for, or a little more, but I think that's on the high side. I think we can't get much more expensive than that. If you made a $1,200 car, I don't think it'd be near as popular. So without thinking too much into it, his question, that's what I got. My favorite class, two-wheel buggy. I think Ryan's class is 8-scale buggy. I have a lot of memorable races. This guy was asking. Yeah, lots of them. It's hard for me to single one, but I would say that the most memorable race for me was probably the 97 Worlds.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 96 Nationals.
No.
Came close to burying the double X4. All right, so 97 Worlds?
I think so. I think it was... The racing was at its highest point, I think. I was fairly young at the time. And just being around and racing with all the guys that were at the top level at that time period and racing with them in the A main, that was probably the most memorable. Ryan's probably have to be the Worlds, but I think he's won other races that I think he's just as proud of. The year that he won all three at the Dirt Nitro Challenge, that was pretty good. That has to rank pretty high. Reedy race, that sweep of the Dirt Nitro Challenge and the Worlds. I mean, really a sweep of the Worlds, won both classes. Has to be pretty good. There was a couple Nitro races we did too, where at the old AMS, or that race is still going, but I say old because when we started going there was over about 10 years ago, but for me watching, there was a couple memorable ones there where Ryan was racing, and I remember him winning the 8-scale buggy class. That was a really good win. But then the truck one, he was kind of dominating the truggy main, and his tire came off, and he had to come in the pits, and it took a while to change, and he lost the lead and dropped back to like third, and he was like 2 laps down or something like that. And in like 20 minutes, he like unlapped himself and, got on the same lap as the leader, got back into second. He didn't win, but he got all the way back to second within striking distance. And I remember that after that race, his truck was sitting in our pits, and it's just like, it's turned off. And the thing is just, it's making that like metal noise, like when it's cooling down, and it's like dink,
pinging, yeah.
And I remember the truck just sitting there, like making those noises, and there was probably 10 or 12 people circled around the pits just staring at this truck because they couldn't believe how much time he had made up.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ryan's like kind of pissed because he didn't win, but people were so impressed by the speed of that and what he was able to do that it was almost more impressive than him winning. That's what I remember most about it was it was the biggest win you could have got without winning. Because just the fact of how far he came back and everybody's watching at that particular time, it was still special having a lot of these guys come out to like Alabama, you know, now if we've been there 10 years, but you know, then it was pretty new and they couldn't believe that guy can drive like this. You know, it's just unreal that, you know, they'd never seen the pros run before and they're just looking at this truck in the pits and it's just making that tinging noise, like cooling down. And it's like, they're looking at this thing like, what is different about this?
Man. Yeah.
This thing is fast. Yeah, it was. So, yeah, tons of memorable ones for me watching. I know that. You know, what would really, I think there's ones that are memorable that you were in, but the ones that, to me, the ones that bother me are the ones that I feel like either I should have won personally or like maybe even Orion should have won that for some reason he didn't. That's the shit sometimes I think about. And I'm like,
sticks with you.
People like, oh, would you like to have, you know, what race would you like to have back? Or, you know what I mean? That type of thing. And I'm just like, oh God, yeah, this race and that race. Like, it's like that. Yeah. That's like that day I should have won. But for whatever reason didn't. And that pisses me off. It's like more than, you know, thinking about the memorable races where you did win or.
Oh, yeah. It's always the ones that you lose.
You're just like, oh, what? It's like, what the heck happened?
Yeah. It's like the Eagles Super Bowl, Patriots Eagles. Yeah. Ugh, I can't stop thinking about it. I thought winning last year would cure that, but it didn't. I just keep thinking about it.
It's never going to.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, the idea is that you win more than you lose, or you have your credibility is as a winner. And they clearly have all that, but you still go, yeah, we should have won that game too.
Yeah. Damn it. God damn it.
You know?
Yep.
You know that
Lakers Detroit series, early Ben Wallace.
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys could have had a four-peat.
I know. Ben Wallace screwed it up. Well, there was a little turmoil within the Lakers too, but yeah, Ben Wallace was a beast in that series.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you that, I guess, how hard it is to win. That's what I think people don't realize is sometimes you think, you know, you're pissed about the times you don't win or whatever, but it also should be a reminder that how difficult it is to be the best at something or the best on that day. Because it's like, I remember Pat Riley did an interview. He always does like a year closeout interview when he in the Miami Heat. And I remember him talking, because this is when LeBron left.
Oh, yeah.
Heat, right.
Right.
And it's just a great interview because he's like, look, guys, he's like, nobody wins in this forever.
Yeah.
And he's like, he starts breaking it down. He's like, look, he goes, I won whatever it was, 5 titles in LA, whatever he won. He goes, but I was there 15 years. He's like, I only won 5 times out of 15 years. You know what I mean? Like whatever the math was, he was like breaking it down. He's like, yeah, sure. You know, say this team won, you know, X amount of titles in this amount of time. He's like, but there was 10 years where they didn't win anything. He's like, and they win, you know, so they win 4 years. You know, they win 4 times in 14 years, and people think this is so amazing. And you're like, look, they went 10 years and didn't win anything. So it shows you how difficult it is, and you have to, I guess, strike when it's your time.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was a good interview, but it was like it was so like just a reality check for just anything where it's like, look, you can't, you never can get a hold of something like that and you have it forever. It's just, it kind of, especially in those sports, it kind of comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
So it just shows you how difficult it is.
And just sticking with basketball for a second, you were at the Reedy race over last weekend, and you text me saying about the Kobe Bryant tragedy. I just want to get your thoughts on it since you weren't here for the show. Just real quick, I mean, I think you summed it up real great with me. It's like, you know, you said to me in a text, you're like, you know, Kobe's had a blessed life, and he's done so much within 41 years. You know, he's done more in 41 than I'll do in 80 or 90. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, and then the real tragedy here is with the kids also. And
it is.
It's terrible to hear that. But you were the one to break the news to me. I was sitting here, we were getting ready to do a podcast, me and Kirby, and I didn't believe the text. I clicked on a link, it didn't work, so I was like, hey, it's fake. But yeah, you were the first one to tell me. So just, you know, you're so into basketball, so just your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was in, you know, out there at the race, and we were outside, and somebody came up to me and held their phone at me. I can't remember if it was Tommy Hines and it had that headline from TMZ, and I was like, oh, no way, this isn't true. So I look it up. I did the same thing you did. I look it up. TMZ. I click on it. The link wasn't working, and I'm like, I go, you know, it's kind of rare that you would get a TMZ.
Yeah,
they're usually pretty accurate. And I'm looking a little more, and I'm like, I think this is true. I sent it to you, and you know, you did the same thing. You're like, God, this can't be true, right?
Right, right away.
Like sometimes you just don't think that people like these celebrities die that many accidental deaths, you know. I guess it was just, I totally didn't expect it. It just, and I guess that's what happens, right? Like, it's just, a lot of these things are unexpected, but for somebody like that, and I guess the first thing I thought was, I was like, oh man, who is he with? Right? That's the question.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
You know, who all is he with? And then they start, it's like his daughter's with him. Then you're like, oh man. And it's like, then you start thinking of how, you know, any type of an aircraft goes down, it's got to be one of the, I'm sure it's one of the most frightening things you can be a part of, right? That or sinking, you know. Either one of those two have to be the worst. To be one of the worst. I mean, I fly all the time. I think about that, you know. It's just like, but when you go, you're just like, well, nothing you can do.
Yep.
You just gotta, you know, if you're gonna do this, this is what you gotta deal with. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it is tough because the guy has had a good life, but to 41, probably better than just about anybody else out there. But you just feel bad for everybody,
right?
In that situation. And then it's not just, it sucks because right away the reason it's a story is because it's a famous person.
Yep.
And then that becomes kind of a story, a sub story is, you know, people are like, well, why is his life any more important than it? And it's not. But since these guys are famous, they've had the opportunity to the reason it's a story is because they've, one way or another, they touch all these people with what they're able to do. Not that their life's any more important, but they were able to entertain a larger group of people. That's why it's a story. And I mean, then the fact that we're in California was even a bigger deal because, you know, we're probably only 40 minutes from LA, and people were going nuts. Yeah, they're having a real difficult time with it. That's going to be a huge adjustment. You know, you just don't know to me, I'm kind of into the, it's like you want to see it's like you don't want to see the video, but then it's like, I want to see the video because I want to see what happened.
Right.
Like, you're like, let me see what broke, what happened, what went wrong. Like, that's kind of what you want to know. The crappy part about all the people, what are the eight or nine people.
Mm-hmm.
But but it's like, what you want to know is kind of what went wrong.
Yeah, and they didn't have a black box in that. It wasn't required, so it's going to be tough to really know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think something happened to the pilot, like a heart attack.
Which, it's going to be hard for them to figure that out, right?
Yeah. But, they said he was an experienced pilot. He's been on that route plenty of times. Even though it was foggy, I think it just seems like something happened because the way it went down. It didn't run into the side of a mountain. It just went right down into the ground at like 180 miles per hour. They said straight down. That just seems like something happened to the pilot. And I don't think you can easily crawl up to the front and, who's going to fly the thing? Nobody knows how to fly it. There was no co-pilot. So.
Yeah. And then that puts you in like even a.
Yeah. So
a more panicky position.
So it's terrible. It was a terrible story. Then you hear his daughter was involved, and then the other families, mother and father and daughters. It's like, wow, it's terrible. I was really sad about it, but yeah. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough adjustment, and yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not gonna. It kind of speeds up some certain things, like all of a sudden, he'll probably get his, statues out in front of Staples Center sooner than he would have if he'd have been alive. And so it'll speed up a lot of those retirement. Anything. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame yet because it hasn't been 5 years, right? Or has it been? So
there's talks that he's going in right away, though. So.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as the 5 years is up, it has to be 5 years, and then
first ballot. Yeah, he'll be first ballot.
So so he'll be a Hall of Famer. But now, then you're going to get to that point, and he can't even be there. So now you're going to have, the rest of his family, and of course that's going to be just a little bit emotional, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think. I wasn't really a big fan of Kobe as a player because I felt like he was kind of like the copy of the Michael Jordan. Yeah. So to me, that's why I wasn't really a big fan. But but I did like watching because he put on a show. He was very Jordan-like. That's what it was good about. That's what people liked about him.
I could send you some links that I've been watching on Facebook of highlights that people have been putting up. And just, man, you forget about some of those games. And that's, mid 2000s. I said this on the podcast. I think that's when I was watching him play. And I'm like, this is the greatest Laker I've ever seen.
And that's saying a lot because you've seen, you obviously weren't back in the Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West days, but you saw the other guys that are considered the best. And to say that is quite a bit.
I didn't think anybody would pass Magic. And then I'm watching him and I'm like, wow. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's just another guy that some guys have the physical ability, some people have the mental ability, and some people have the drive, but it's a very rare to have it all in one person. And those are the people that are always the best.
Yep.
So, and he was one of those guys that obviously had all that. And the only part that I think is, to me, that I felt like he should have been much smarter about, given all the people he had around him, was how lucky he had it in LA at first with Shaq. Mm-hmm. The fact that they got in that whole disagreement and essentially it ended up being where Shaq kind of got traded to Miami. I would have thought that given all the mentors, the experiences that were there, they would have said, all right, for the better of everything, let's keep this rolling because there's going to be impossible to ever put this back together.
Yeah, especially with Phil Jackson there. You think they could have kept that together?
Like the mentors these guys had are the best in the business.
It was unreal.
I mean, and you still can't get over whose team is it? It's like, come on. It's like to me that's the part that really bothers me about that whole thing is that they couldn't just say, look, this is going pretty well. And Phil could have said to me, Phil could have been like, as Shaq gets a little older, we'll transition the team. So this is more your team. But while he is in this type of position, it's going to be his team. So, but let's let the transition happen and then we'll ride it on the other side. And we'll keep plugging in the pieces. They probably could have,
just like the Patriots are doing.
But they probably could have won 6 or 7 titles. I think that was realistic. Anything more than that, oh man, you got to have a lot of shit go your way.
Yeah, even Kobe said that in an interview I just recently watched. He was like, people think we could have won 10, but he's like, he was even saying like that's too hard to do.
You're assuming so much when you say stuff like that. And even when they say the Bulls could have won 8 or 9. But it's like that's assuming a lot too because you're assuming all these guys are going to be healthy.
Yeah.
How often do these guys get injured? That's a lot. And you can't control that. It's like Kevin Durant. The guy's out for a whole year. You got Steph Curry. He's out. You got Klay Thompson. He's out. It's like all these guys. It's like... a year ago we were saying Golden State was unbeatable, and now it's like they're last in the West.
It's unreal.
So it's like, you can't.
Nah,
you gotta be happy with what you get.
Absolutely.
It's like if you're getting 5 or 6, it's like Pat Riley. It's like
that in anything. You guys racing and stuff like that too.
Yeah, you gotta. It's like sure you want to win every race, but at the end of the day, it's like you got to be pretty happy when you are winning something because there's people that don't win anything. Mm-hmm. Not one thing.
That would be me. So anyway, INS10, you're heading out this weekend, right?
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to head out over to actually one of our favorite places to visit in St. Louis. It's actually St. Charles, Missouri, but we fly into St. Louis. Mm-hmm. And got a sold out event. I think we got 330 entries. We got Dakota Fenn racing for us this year, of course, and he's coming to the race for the first time. He actually just texted me while we were talking, asking what a couple things that we wanted to bring, which is nice. It's been kind of nice working with him a little bit the first couple races of the year, seeing how he kind of approaches and does things compared to the other guys and try to blend in with him a little.
Snowbirds was over the weekend too. So did we have anybody there running that?
No.
Okay. Did you guys go at all?
Mostly. No, Paul stopped by.
Okay. I heard Trinity did well there.
Yeah, they kind of dominated.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know that they won the mod classes, but they do well everywhere else. They got one of the X-ray guys came in, I think, and dominated the mod classes, but they had a good turnout. I want to say they had between the two, 300 plus in each side, oval and road course. So they got 600 or 700 entries still.
Yeah.
Which, we talked earlier about the Reedy race and maintaining that level of an event. And, they've been able to keep that entry count at the Snowbirds pretty consistent over the years. You got to give them credit for that. It's definitely not easy. It's not easy to start a big event and maintain it and keep those entries coming. And there's a reason why people come back, I guess. They keep going to it. They like it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, best of luck out at the Nationals. What is this called now? INS10, what? Indoor Nationals Series.
Yep, we actually the name of the whole series Indoor National Series, and then each race we got the winter, spring, summer, and fall.
I didn't get my INS10 shirt. Okay.
Actually, they're not done yet.
Oh, all right. Well,
I think we're shipping them straight there.
That explains it. All right, cool.
You know what? It is hard because you get into November and December of the year, and you're already, we still got races we're doing, stuff you're coming off of, and you're already starting to prepare for the next year.
Yeah.
And it really is a tough turnaround to get into January and February because it just happens so quick.
Yeah, that's short.
Yeah, you do Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. There's a birthday in there, and it's like boom, you're into 2020, and it's like, oh man, we got all this stuff starting again, and
damn,
it's a quick turnaround.
Yeah,
all new stuff. You got to design everything all over again. New flyers, new logos, new T-shirts, new race dates, and confirm with people, and it's a mess kind of getting going.
Damn. So best of luck to everybody going out to that race.
Yep.
Kick some ass. And we'll catch up with you next week, see what the hell happened. What the results were. We're pumping some episodes out, man. So
we're still going. Is this 02?
This is 03.
That's right, because you and Kirby did the episode.
Well, I didn't count those, so I have them up there. But I didn't count them as an episode. But
okay.
For you guys, so it's a little unfair. The one episode I did was only like 20 minutes long, so I just throw them in there under chaos or whatever.
The show we still have coming that I actually pre-arranged the questions for. We're gonna get Curtis Husting on the show.
Oh, right, absolutely.
And I actually talked to him twice at the Reedy race, and
okay,
he already has the questions, and
good deal.
Yeah, he's gonna be in.
Nice. That should be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just all the things experiences he have. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. All right. Safe travels out there, man. And then we'll catch you listeners on 204 next week.